Ladies and gentlemen, the king is dead. Hello everyone, I'm Dan the Man, and this is my latest review. Well, the king is officially dead as Polly was shown the door. Wasn't really a surprise. He got a stay of execution when Corey won the HOH last week, but too many people wanted him out for it to not catch up with him, barring a huge change. So Victor won the head of household, and while Polly didn't think he was as secure as they made us believe, at least based on the feeds, he thought Victor would keep him safe, which he didn't. So Polly went up and lost his ever-loving mind. A lot of feed watchers were pissed at the edit he got. While he did come off looking like he took it hard, he got a good edit trying to make him look like a sympathetic fallen hero. But in actuality, he was a little crybaby spoiled brat all week long. They showed him not wanting to do the pies, but what they didn't show was he refused for a lot longer than they made us believe, and it got to the point the production had to kill the feeds, pull him into the DR, and basically make him do his punishment. He said while talking to one of the house guests, I think it was Natalie, the production said, "You said you would be a good sport," and his answer was, "No, I didn't." He cried over everything all week. They showed about half of it. By the time he got to the butterfly crap, he told James, "I was screaming at my computer, 'Enough already!'" He claimed to Julie that he was just putting on an act to make them feel sorry for him so they would keep him, but I don't believe him. That might have been part of it, but they seem like legit tears. Most people can't cry on cue, and it looked more real than the endless fake crying Michelle has been giving. He also cried in the diary room. So did he think the cameraman was going to cast a vote? I think he was just throwing a temper tantrum personally. Strategy or not, it didn't work, and Polly got sent home. Everyone expected he would get the return ticket because clearly production was rigging in his favor. And most of them were pretending they didn't say the same thing about Devon and then Frank. But Polly didn't have the ticket, and they made them all open the tickets afterwards since the deadline to use it was up, so we saw proof someone else did have it. Some fans are crying, they changed it because we were on to them, but to those fans I say, yeah, keep thinking that. Maybe you'll feel more important than you actually are. Don't get me wrong, I do think that at times production pulls shenanigans. You will never convince me that in Season 13, the Pandora's Box and following immunity challenge that magically saved the vets was not producer shenanigans. But in this case, it seems pretty clear they didn't rig the tickets. If so, Polly, Frank, or Devon would have had it. And there's little doubt in my mind that if they had fixed it, they would have made sure that someone ended up using it, because with it not getting used, it basically became yet another BB failed twist, which may be the most consistent element of Big Brother. The failed clusterfuck of a twist that they tend to throw at us every year that always fall apart. So was Polly the right choice? Well, pretty much yes for everyone involved. It could be argued he was basically neutered, but he had plenty of enemies who he would target if he won head of household. And with his competition record, if he stuck around, that was likely to happen sooner or later. So for pretty much everyone, it was the right choice. Nicole was the only one he wouldn't have really considered targeting, but since he was up against her biggest ally, she still had little choice but to vote Polly out. The only ones that possibly made a rushed decision were Victor and Paul, as with the biggest target gone, the target may go on them. But Polly was not going to take them to the end, and with so few people and Polly accomplished, it was probably best to take him out now while they had the chance, rather than vote out Corey and make an enemy of Nicole and still have Polly around, also an enemy. As we heard, there will be a competition for a juror to come back into the game. This is almost surely to compensate for the return ticket not being used, as they are short one player from where they would be if the ticket had been used by this point. So it makes sense, even if it is a bit redundant, since the jury already had one chance to come back in, so they basically all ended up getting 2 buyback opportunities. It wasn't clear to me if the person voted out this week would come and compete Thursday also, as most jury buybacks were with 4 competitors, not 5, but I assume they will. So who do I think will go back in? Well, I can't make a definitive answer since I don't know who will get voted out this week, or even for sure if they're competing, but based on the 4 currently in the jury house, it seems likely it'll be Polly or Bridget. Devon and Zakay have yet to win anything, and Devon even had 2 seasons to try and has failed to win a competition, so it seems Polly and Bridget would be the likely choices, as both are good at competitions. But if it's physical, Bridget's injuries will be a factor, and obviously she would be at a disadvantage against Polly even if she wasn't hurt. So it would seem, at least with the 4 jurors so far, Polly would have the best chance at the competition. But I wouldn't call it a given by any means. Polly has shown to not do well under pressure. He was in control of the game during most of the competitions. When he was in danger in the double eviction, he choked, and obviously he did manage to save himself this week. It's also not a given it'll be an endurance comp. In the past it has been, but they might mix it up. Wouldn't be the first time, especially if they want to draw out suspense. And even if it is endurance, Zakea, Bridget, and Devon actually have done well in them. Bridget and Devon only lost the comp that James won because they stepped down, and a lot think had Bridget not stepped down, she would have won. And Z held on in the last endurance comp against Victor and stepped down also. Doubt she would have beaten him if she had stayed up, but we don't know she would have lost it. So Polly is far from the given winner. Still, if I had to pick someone to win based on the 4 jurors so far, then my money would be on Polly, but I hope I'm wrong and we're surprised. In all honesty, I have no real interest in seeing more of any of these people except for Bridget, so here's hoping she pulls off an upset. She very well could. She is a fighter. And since the review is late, this brings us to the head of household competition and Natalie winning it. A lot noted that the girls' change of heart to suddenly not trust Paul and Victor and be all about trusting Corey and Nicole seemed to come from out of nowhere. While the feeds were down during the conversation Paul had with Nicole and her reporting it to Natalie and James, it still seemed weird they magically trusted Corey and Nicole. So much so that a lot cried that the producers had to have influenced them, especially since production has a long history of favoring vets in seasons like this. It seems clear Big Brother wants a female winner. They have only had 5 in the show's history, and the last one was 5 years ago. Hell, only 2 women have won the show since season 6, which was over a decade ago. It's become a black cloud hanging over Big Brother that the show does not favor women being able to win, and most figure Big Brother wants to bridge the gap. And since Nicole looked like a likely one to go home, had they continued with the target they seemed they were going to, it would make sense why they might want to save Nicole. So a lot of people think Big Brother is protecting their investment and trying to keep the girls around in the hopes one of them will win. Although with these 3 girls, that is still seeming to be a long shot. I don't know if production did have anything to do with this, but I admit the sudden change of heart is very suspicious. A lot of people are crying the fix is in, but the truth is, even if production did have something to do with it, that's just the way Big Brother goes. Big Brother is not a sport, and it's not even a game show. It's for entertainment. Production has been mucking with things since literally season 1. A lot think that BB, like a game show, is monitored by the FCC, but it's not. Way back in Season 8, a lot of fans were convinced that Evil Dick cheated in the final head of household competition, or that it was rigged for him to win. Due to a vast network of supposed hits that he could see Zach, his opponent in the challenge, has answered. For the record, I hate Evil Dick with the fire of 1,000 suns, but I do not believe any of that was true. Fans were just butthurt that he won and saw what they wanted to see. But anyway, a bunch of fans decided that Evil Dick cheated to win and that the FCC should step in. So they contacted them. The FCC replied, and they basically said Big Brother is not considered a game show and they can do whatever the hell they want. And to be blunt, people are mad because it seems that production interference hurt the fan favorites. If they'd seem to do something to help save Paul or Victor, there would be a lot less whining. I'm not saying it isn't frustrating, and while a lot of fans just want to believe the fix is in whenever they don't like what's happening, there's definitely been plenty of proof producers have at times affected the game and even caused people to win. But that's the nature of competitive reality TV. It's competitive and reality second and TV first. I'm not defending it, but it is what it is, and if you want to be a Big Brother fan, you have to accept that and recognize that part of playing Big Brother is navigating such things and helping ensure that you either can outmaneuver producer interference or that you're the one that benefits from it. Big Brother is a crazy game, and that's just part of the craziness. So it may or may not have influenced Natalie and co-head of household Michelle via the care package to put up Victor and Paul aside. Was it a smart decision? Well, for Michelle, it definitely wasn't. Victor and Paul are arguably tighter with Michelle than Natalie or James, and definitely more so than Corey or Nicole. So while yes, they would take each other to the final 2, Michelle was likely their number 3, which she is not for anyone else. She let Natalie, or possibly the producers, influence her to make a bad decision. Nicole and Corey will not do a damn thing for her, so she should have put one of them up. Even if she didn't have the votes to get them out of the house, making an enemy of Victor and Paul by putting them up was a bad call. For Natalie and James, it's less clear. Showmances get targeted, so it makes sense they'd want to ally with the other showmans. The problem is, while Nicole and James clearly have a history that is keeping them working together, I don't think either Corey or Nicole have much interest in Natalie beyond her being James' partner. But Paul and Victor were going to have to go after someone, and once Corey and Nicole were gone, they likely would have targeted James and Natalie over targeting Michelle. Victor especially is a threat in competitions, so despite it seeming that Natalie didn't come to the decision on her own, it may have been the right one for her game. Where they are messing up is making Paul the target. Victor will not take this well and is good at comps, so it should never be assumed he can't win the next head of household. So if they're going to put up Paul and Victor, they should go after Victor. Paul may be more shady, but he is not a bigger threat to take them out in the retaliation. But all of that might be for naught. Aside from the veto possibly changing the nominations, whoever goes could find themselves back in the House, especially Victor. So either way, this could be a very interesting remainder of the week. Thanks for watching. I'm Dan the Man, and I'll see you next time. But one more thing before I go. Paul, get rid of the stupid pelican floaty, you attention-seeking dillweed.